there and welcome to Tech Support. My name is Nicole Rader and today I'm going to be showing you guys how to do some basic motion graphics in Adobe After Effects. Alright, so first off you open up Adobe After Effects and you get this welcome page. And the first thing you want to do is open up a new composition. And then you can title it whatever works for you, just something that lets you know what you're going to be working on today. So the default settings that are listed here are fine for this project. You're not going to need to change any of them, so don't worry about that today. So first off here, we're going to get this blank screen, and what we're going to want to do is create a layer that's going to be our solid background, and it's going to act as a background layer for your text. So we're going to go over here to this top button that says Layer, Create New, and we're going to hit Solid. And this one I'm just going to name it Background since it's my background layer. And again, the settings here are fine, just default as they are. Okay, so then on top of the background layer, you're going to want to create a new text layer, and then you're going to want to use the text tool in the upper left-hand corner, right over here. And you want to use this one to type your name, basically, just in the center of the screen. So you'll just click in the middle of that screen, and you'll see down here it'll create a new text layer. And then you're just going to want to type out your name here. And then you can highlight it and change like the font over here on the right hand side. And I'm going to make it a little bit bigger so everyone can see it. Okay. So now we have our text layer created right here that's named Nicole Rader on top of our background layer. And the next step that you're going to want to do is to create a path for your name so it can enter the screen. And to do so, we're going to go over here and click the pen tool. And you want to make sure that you create this path within the same layer that you're making your name, or else it's not going to work for what we want to do. And so a great tip that you want to do when making this is hold down Shift on your computer, and then when you click your second dot, it'll be automatically like perfectly horizontal. So now I have my path made, and to actually get the text to follow that path, you go over to your name here and you click on the drop down menu. You want to click on text, and underneath that you're going to click on path options. So what we're doing here is we're picking a path for your text to follow as it enters the screen. And then the path that we're going to pick is going to be the like horizontal line that we created before, and that's going to be the mask 1. So click on mask 1, and now you can see that your text automatically sticks to your path that you've created. But this isn't exactly what we want it to do. We don't want it to just be on the path, we want it to move along the path. So to get this movement going, what you're going to want to do is go into the little like options underneath path options, and you want to go into first margin. Now once you go into first margin, you can, as you see, pull it back, and that'll be pulling your name off screen. And since we want our name to animate like coming into the screen, we're going to have to have a starting position where we're off screen. So I'm going to leave my first margin at -525, and that's my name is off screen here, and on my timeline I have my cursor at the very beginning. So what I'm going to want to do is hit this little stopwatch button over here, and that's going to create a keyframe. And keyframes are really important when you're working in After Effects, because a keyframe will set a marker on your timeline, and that holds all of the settings that you just made, so that when your object is at that spot on the timeline, it will have those specific values assigned to it. So when I put this keyframe right here, that means that my name is going to have the specific like position of -525, and then if I go further on down my timeline, let's say 2 seconds out, and I change my first margin to a positive value way over here in the center of the screen where I want my text to end up, let's say we'll go with like right about there at 698. So now I'm going to want to create another keyframe right here, which automatically did when I changed the position of the first margin at a new setting. So if you go back in your timeline and you press play by hitting spacebar, you can now see your text will animate and come into the center of frame, following the path that you created. Okay, so now you want your movement from the first keyframe to the second keyframe to look a little bit less jerky. Something you can do is you highlight both keyframes, and then you right-click them, and you go down here and you hit Keyframe Assistant, and then Easy Use. And this is a really helpful tool to use within After Effects because it will add this kind of like fluid motion to any like movement that you're creating. So now when we hit play, you see that it kind of like ramps up in speed and kind of slows down in speed. But to refine the motion of the name coming in even more, what you can do is you hit on this little graph editor here, and you'll see it'll have like a curve for the motion that you're setting. And what you can do is, actually I'm going to go over here and make this the selection tool again, so I'm not using the text tool. But then you can adjust the curves to your liking to get kind of this really fluid motion. And right here, so you can move this, but I don't want it to move all over, so I can hit Shift and just go like this, and it will stay horizontal. So I'm going to make a nice kind of S curve, adjust that so it doesn't slow down too much there. And this can take a little bit of time to kind of finick it around to get the exact motion that you want to make it look realistic as well. Alright, now onto the fun part. So we're going to give the text a bit of wiggle as it comes to a stop, and you want to go into the text layer, and then in the Animate button right here, what we're going to want to click on is Skew, right there. And this means we get to play with the skew of the letters now. So if I start like highlighting the difference here, you can see if I go negative, I get this nice slant to the left, and if I go positive, I get this nice slant to the right. I'm going to want to go back to the beginning, so I'm at the same position I was when I entered the frame, and set my skew to a really negative position. We're going to go with -16. As you keep going forward, it'll stay slanted, and we want to make sure there's no change or barely any change between 0 and probably until like 1.75. So that means we're going to take our skew and we're going to make it -14, and we're going to make another keyframe right there. Now, like right after that keyframe that you just made, you're going to want to make another keyframe, but this time you want your skew to be a +14, and that way it'll start to slant the other way, and you get that kind of motion of it's coming in, leaning backwards, and then starts to stop and leans forward, and then it's going to wiggle backwards. So we're going to want to go through this little like system of creating multiple keyframes in a row that are of a decreasing magnitude, and then we want the distance between those keyframes to get closer together. So now I'm just going to go in here and add a couple more keyframes, and that might take a little while to finesse, so I'm probably going to speed this part up. Alright, so once you have kind of this like up and down curves that are getting smaller and smaller that you kind of like, you can highlight all of the square points, right click, and then you're going to go into Keyframe Assistant and hit Easy Ease again. And that'll kind of give the effect that it's wiggling instead of just kind of really jerkily going between skew one way, skew the other way. And again, it's going to take some finicking to kind of mess around with the curves to get them looking realistic. And to do so, you can kind of zoom in here using this little button down at the bottom. And you're going to do the same thing where you hold down Shift, and then you can pull out these little yellow things to give a nice, like, smooth, more natural movement. So I'm probably going to speed this part up too, as it takes a little while to finesse. Okay, now that I have adjusted the curves somewhat to my liking, I'm going to go back, and you're pretty much done, because now you can just hit play, and then you'll see your text come in, kind of speed up, and then wobble there at the end, which gives it a nice kind of like wiggle to your text as it enters the screen. So I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial, and you've now know how to create a clean and professional motion graphic to your name entering the frame. This has been Nicole Rader with tech support, and thanks for watching.